Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, not really going to be doing a lot. The car has been and gone for its welding. As you can see as well, the unit has had a bit of a move around. Apologies for not getting a video out to you last week. I just, again, didn't have much to film, so I thought I'd try and put something together this week to at least be able to put something up for you guys. Like I say, behind me you can see the S13. It has been and gone for welding. It's back already. That was all done last week. Unfortunately though, unfortunately, the guy that was doing it didn't really want me recording up there, so I have got a little few before clips and I will show you after. On the welding itself, it is sort of, well, it's all protected, it's all undersealed underneath as well, so we're good to go. I will be laying sound deadening over it just before I put the carpet back in. So yeah, aside from that, the car's still running, it drives all right. I have started mocking up the intercooler. I've got an idea of where that needs to go now, as well as, like I say, the unit has had a move around. So what I will do is I will show you now the clips of what I recorded last week. I got a few time lapses and a few cinematic shots, shall I say. They're not exactly cinematic, but it's what I could get. And what it will be showing you is the welding, or sorry, should I say the rust that we found on the car itself, as well as a quick snip of myself cleaning up the top of the fuel tank and putting some hammerite over the top of that before actually putting it back into the car. That was basically because it was covered in dirt and I just wanted to help protect that a little bit longer, being a 30-year-old tank. And yeah, so what we'll do is we will dive straight into those clips and then I'll bring you guys back and we'll go over the car as it sits now. Alright guys, so as you would have just seen there, a few little snippets of before the car was welded, and I can now show you afterwards. As you can see though, firstly, the unit has had a bit of a move around. The Mini has moved over into this corner at the minute. It is still in the way, but it's the best that I could do at the minute whilst it's still sat here. The S13 is back inside, mainly so that I can start getting the actual ramp up itself. So as you can see, I've got one side, the base is down, and the lighter side is up. Did this myself last week. The only side I've got to get up now is the motor side, as well as then wiring all of the three-phase, which is located over there in the corner. Whether we can run another plug or something along one of the walls for the motor this side, we'll work that out eventually. But unfortunately, I don't really think I can lift that myself, so I'm not going to try it, and I'm not going to put my back out for it. So yes, let's dive straight into the car. As you can see, it's still stripped down. What I'll do is I'll grab me a little torch, got a little handheld. Amazon, £10, lovely job. So, passenger side. There was some work done this side, so as you can see, we welded a panel, or a patch should I say, to cover over the hole that was there, as well as down in the corner there. It doesn't look pretty from the inside, but what I will do is I will spray some primer over that to help prevent that. Aside from that, it is all welded underneath, so it looks bad from the top, but underneath all of this is now solid. It's one of those things where I could spend the time and strip it right down. Ideally, I want to acid dip the car itself, but that is a long-term plan. So whether I keep the car for that long is a different matter. The other big issue, or side should I say, was the driver's side. Underneath the seats, or no, sorry, the pedals. So as you can see, it has all been welded underneath now. It's all been this sealant over the top. So what I'll do is I'll primer over the top of that, and then throughout the car I'm going to run another layer of sound deadening before putting the carpet, which is over there in the corner, back into the car. That way it should help protect from any rust or any water ingress inside the car, as well as being undersealed underneath. It also prevents outside the car. Another thing I started doing, as you can see, is I started mocking up the intercooler. Now, as soon as I got this on, I realised that it was too low. In my opinion, the intercooler sits too low down for my liking. Of course, the front coilovers still have about 2 inches of travel before they're all the way down, and admittedly they will be going all the way down once the car is back together. Okay, hopefully towards the end of the year I'll be able to pick up some bags from Only Charge Dubs, which will bolt straight onto my BC coilovers, and the car will be getting bagged. But it's just one of those things that even when bagged, it will still be getting run low, and so therefore it's just one of those safety things. So the plan is to actually run the intercooler. So it's currently just sort of temporarily bolted onto the bottom. What I'm going to be doing is actually running it up here. So I'm going to be using the 2 horn tabs, one either side, and actually getting it's about 2 foot. So I'm going to get a bit of metal bar and bend it so it's an L bracket all the way across, bolted on this right side, bolted on the left side. What I can probably do is flip the horns around, which will be able to almost mount them backwards, which it will just mean the horns are still there, and then I can still plug them in and use them. As well as that, as you can see, the actual bonnet latch hasn't got an attachment on it, mainly because down the bottom here you can see that the bar is actually rusted off. So I could try and crack that bolt, but I think my plan is to, once I've got this bar bent up and bolted up here, is to make a bracket welded onto said bar that attaches to here, which hopefully should then reinforce it all and add some extra rigidity. But yeah, this being such a small intercooler, I think I'm also going to have to drill the stock bash bar in probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just to allow some airflow into the intercooler itself. Otherwise, I will be going an aftermarket bash bar further down the line. But again, one of those things that isn't needed as such at the minute, but it's something that I can do eventually. Aside from that, guys, the car has barely been touched, really. I've not done an awful lot else to it. It is still completely stripped out on the inside. I have got the one driver's seat in, that was to help move the car. Shifters in as well, just to allow for me to be able to move it. I am going to be pulling out this drift mirror. I'm not a huge fan of it, admittedly, so I'm going to be pulling it out, changing that, dyeing the headlining like I said beforehand, and running that so it looks a lot nicer, along with the confetti interior, which I am currently planning on finding a full interior, or should I say reupholstering a full interior to match, which means door cards as well as rear seats will be the confetti styling. Aside from that, guys, I haven't got a lot on with the car at the minute. Funds aren't particularly high, should I say, and the stuff I am waiting on is mainly the ramp. I need to get this ramp up ideally, mainly because when we were under the car sorting the welding, I noticed that most of the probably the majority of the bushes underneath this car are completely shot. So therefore I want to drop the subframe and actually redo all the bushes in those, as well as then at the same time I can get all new arms, as well as the 5-stud conversion. Like I say, unfortunately that costs money, and that's something that I'm running a bit low at the minute. I poured a lot of money into this, be it seats. I've just picked up a steering wheel for the car as well because that came up cheap. All the welding work, that cost a big old wad. But yeah, aside from that, that is where we sit with the car at the minute. Like I say, there's not a lot I am able to do currently. Alright guys, so I mentioned about the intercooler sitting down underneath this here, down on the bottom of the bash bar. I temporarily mounted it on there. I'm going to sit on the floor so you can see me a bit better. There we are. So as you can see, I've sort of cracked on with things, and just to do something whilst I'm up here today on my own. Quickly sort of just testing where the intercooler is going to be going. So as you can see, I have removed both the horns. They're currently dangling down behind, but they were bolted at these 2 points here. So the plan is to actually build some mounting brackets off of that, and as you can see, that is probably about where the intercooler will sit. What I'm going to have to do, like I say, as you can see, there's not enough, the bash bar is completely in the way. So I'm going to have to get some circle saw bits and actually drill 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, just to allow the airflow through. Otherwise it will struggle with that, but unfortunately this will then keep it off of the ground. It keeps it above the bash bar, and so therefore once the car is slammed onto the ground, there won't be any issue with it smacking or anything. Yes, admittedly, this is a very small intercooler. On their website, they advertise that this is good for up to 300 to 350 horsepower. Whether that's true or not, we will find out further down the line. As at the minute, I'm currently only aiming for about 250 at the wheels, sort of comfortably a smooth curve throughout, which will be a future video because we are going to have to go standalone for that, and that will be with Steve down at Performance Vehicle Engineering, which is local to us, who is the sort of the tuner around here. So I'm currently working with him to work out prices for that and sort of when we can do that. But of course before that I am going to need to do the exhaust, and before that I want to do the bushes, because of course otherwise if the exhaust is there, I'm going to have to take it back off to do all the bushes, and there's not a lot of point in doing that. But the plan is, with the intercooler anyway, is to use these 2 mounting points, and to basically increase the structural rigidity of it is use the bottom bolt, like I mentioned, off of the bonnet mechanism, which should hopefully add some rigidity to this, because currently this is really flimsy, mainly because there's no brace going from here down to the bottom of it. One thing I have noticed is this car does have aircon. Well, it did at one point. So the condenser, the pulley is still on the actual engine itself, as well as you can see under the fan, and the aircon rad is still here. So whether I try and get that working or not, I'm not too sure. The plan was to actually pull it all out, basically to give me more room to work with. But looking where it's mounting now, we should be okay with the mounting position, and the aircon won't be in the way. So that is something I will have to look at. So the other issue we're going to be looking at is, of course, if it's mounted about here, like I say, you can see the 2 bolts, 1 bolt there and 1 bolt there, and hopefully I can use it to line up with 1 mounting point and 2 mounting point. Like I say, I'm going to use a bit of steel bar bent that comes all the way across, and I can then weld a tab to it about here, which will then bolt into this, which will then give this the structural rigidity that it needs to be able to open and close the bonnet. So one thing I have been looking at, or I need to look at, is basically the issue of the routing of the intercooler piping. Because of course when it's bolted up here, it's going to have to go through the bash bar. So looking at it, we might have to drill larger holes in the actual bash bars here, which fortunately there's already holes here, but like I said, I'm going to probably have to drill out most of this, which I'm not too sure how that will affect the structural rigidity of it, whether we can drill them and then actually gusset the holes to add some strength to it. That might be an option. So that's something I'm going to have to look into at a later date, really. But like I say, as you can see as well, all the aircon stuff is still back here. It is a mess, and it's something that I might actually look into, because the aircon pump is still down. You can't really see because of the lighting, but it is still down there at the bottom, all hooked up. Whether it works or not is a different matter. But I think for today, guys, that is going to be everything. Like I say, at the minute I'm only doing sort of odds and sods, and so it's hard for me to record it because I'm not too sure on what you guys want to see, as well as what is sort of necessary content. What I will try and do, it might, for the next few weeks, it might be a lot of sort of odds and sods, a lot, little jobs here, little jobs there, but it's everything that's got to be done to basically finish the car. But aside from that, I think I'll leave it here, guys. All I can say is thank you guys for watching this video. If you do, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It will be greatly appreciated. And as well as that, have a good rest of your day. But aside from that, I'll leave you to it, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Sweet.
I'm an icon, man. I'm a girl about a 10. I should fuck her in the Benz.